have not been present for a concierge hour in the past, we have these every month, every last Thursday of every month. And it's at noon Eastern time, 9 a.m. Pacific, and all times in between. And this is really an opportunity for all of you, our members, to ask questions. It's very much an open forum. So if you have questions, I strongly encourage people to interrupt me during the course of the presentation, because we basically review certain things on the site. We talk about just some new and upcoming features, also news within the club, things like that. But really, this is meant for you. And so I strongly encourage interaction. And you can also, if you don't feel comfortable interrupting or just kind of unmuting yourself and saying anything, feel free to put it into chat, into the Google Meet chat. You can ask those questions there, and my colleagues will be looking at that periodically throughout the presentation. Today we have Wendy Estela, who will be joining us for the last half hour of the concierge hour. In case you are not familiar with Wendy, she is an attorney who works with interior designers exclusively. I met Wendy at an IDS virtual webinar about 1.5 years ago, and I was like, oh my gosh, we have to get you in and talk to our club members. She is phenomenal. It also has a weird association to my past life before I was an interior designer, where I actually worked in litigation consulting. And yeah, it's really, really great. I think having somebody at your fingertips who understands the ins and outs from a legal standpoint really will help you with your business. And so she's here to talk a little bit about that, and also some of her workshops that are upcoming as well. So let's go ahead and dig right in. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So I will be turning myself off of video for right now. We're just going to kind of go through the website really quickly, and also some of the new features that we have enabled. And like I said, feel free to just ask questions as we go along. One moment, I'm just going to share my screen out here. Okay. So when you first actually come to the Daniel House Club website, many of you have come to this page already. You will see a lot of different things here. First of all, our logo up at the top will always take you back to our home page. There's also a new items link here. So anytime we have new items from a vendor that are either new to us or actually new to the vendor, they will be added and put into the new items section here. We also have an in-stock section, and then the vendors link. You can just hover over the vendors link, and you see a couple of representative favorite vendors here from some of our members, as well as those that we are currently adding to the system that are still available upon request as we get their catalogs up. And then you can click on the View All Vendors link, and this actually takes you directly to our directory of vendors. So you can click on any one of these and go directly to the vendor's homepage on our homepage. So it's not taking you out to the vendor. It's actually on Daniel House Club. So it'll be all the items for that particular vendor. Obviously, our trade program page, that's actually where we talk about all the different aspects of our membership. And then the club bulletin is where we have a lot of news and information for all of our members. And this is also where we have our concierge hour archives. You can just click on the concierge hour archive link here. Lots of great information, good editorial information as well, and that's just going to be expanded upon more this year, which is great. Now, when I'm on the site here, if I'm not logged in, it will just show a little person logo here. It will not show my name. When I'm logged into the system, it will show my name here. And for those of us who are visiting us from Canada today, and joining us from Canada, you do have the option to look at our website in Canadian dollars by just clicking on the US dollar icon here. And then I can just select Canada or the US, and the items will show up in Canadian dollar or US dollar, and then you can transact in Canadian dollar or US dollar as well. If I go to the menu under my name, I can also go directly to my dashboard screen if I just click on account. Now the account screen will show me a whole bunch of things. I can look at my dashboard, so I can just click on the dashboard link, and it looks a little bit similar to the main account page, but it shows my most recent projects and boards that I have created. It also shows the cart summary here. And what the cart summary is, we have the ability for you to share invoices, or what we call carts, from your project boards that you create. And you can share those directly with a client. And your client can actually transact directly through the platform, so that there's an easy way for you to collect money for the project and for the product that's being purchased. This is not by any stretch of the imagination the norm, but it is an available option. I would say the vast majority of our members will literally just use their project board. They will check out on their own, they'll take their full discount, and then they will invoice their clients offline from Daniel House Club. But if you do need to have the option to do this, you can share a cart or an invoice with your client and have them pay directly. And this is where that will show up. So it will show up who the recipient is, it'll show who the project is, the date that it was sent, also all the total information, and also if you're due any commission for the order. This is a little bit of a different scenario, because if you are sharing your cart with your client and having them pay directly, they're obviously not going to take your full discount, we hope. But for any amount of your discount that you do not share with your client, we would send to you as a commission payout. And so you would actually know that amount here in your commission payout section. There's also information here on these little icons, so you can see if your client has actually viewed the cart or the invoice, whether or not they paid for it, and the date, and then also if it has been shipped yet. Now, if I'm just going to this and I'm just checking out on my own, I'm not sending anything to my client, then you would just go to your order history link here, and that would show all of your completed orders. We are in the process currently of marrying these two screens together, so that orders placed by your client and also orders placed by you will be in the same place. And also there will be more information here under order history. So it's not just going to have the order number, which can be, you know, a little ubiquitous at this point. You don't really know who this is for. So what we're going to be doing is changing this a little bit so that it has project information, potentially even board information, but definitely the project information, so that you can understand exactly who that was for. We had a really good suggestion actually yesterday during our client advisory board meeting that we have, where we have a group of members who comprise of our client advisory board, and we meet once a quarter. And they were saying, why not leave it as a free text field and have the ability for us to just indicate what that is for that particular order? I thought that was a very good suggestion. So just so you know, we are in the process of updating this dashboard screen pretty significantly, and we hope to have these changes by around mid-year, if not by the end of this year, to have these changes enacted. I can also look at my projects, so I can just click on all of my projects here, and I can see these are my two most recent projects. Let's just click into one of the projects here, and then I'll click into the board that I created. And this is obviously a very simple board. It just has these chairs here, but I can add additional items if I wish by just clicking the plus sign. I can also go directly to the product information page. And the product information page I will show you in a little bit. There's a lot to look at there, but you can add an item directly from the product page. So you don't have to go into your board each time and click this little plus button. It's just nice if you're there, because you can just click it and add it if you wish.
Hey, Robert.
Yes.
We have couple questions in the chat.
Sure.
Now, okay. So one is there a way to remain logged in? I often have to re-enter login info.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
go
is,
ahead.
yes, you can remain logged in. I remain logged in. However, our system is actually on a back-end system called Shopify, which probably a lot of you are familiar with. Shopify does have settings that they automatically log people out after a certain time. So that is unfortunately a little bit out of our control right now. But yes, you can absolutely leave yourself logged in. That's not a problem.
Okay, and the next one is, it would be great if the cart showed the shipping type and location. Sometimes I'd want it to be white glove or go to a receiver or a home, and it's hard to see what I've picked for each order.
Okay, so when you actually create a cart, or what we call a cart, it's ostensibly an invoice. When you go through that, you can actually do a mock checkout, which we can do right here actually, and I'll show you what it looks like. And then you can actually see what levels of service you have. I don't know if that answers the question, delivery service, that is. I don't know if that answers the question, or if you would like to see it more on a product page, perhaps you can let us know. But you do have the ability at any time to create a mock invoice or cart, and you can see exactly what the different levels of delivery service are, and also the costs associated with those as well. Was there anything else, Peter, or was that it?
No, that's it. I'm guessing that question was asked by Melanie. She probably has more questions, but I think we can answer them later.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Melanie, just let us know if that answers your question or not. Feel free to just type it in or just pipe up. Let us know. All right. So a couple of things here. I can share this board if I want to in a non-transactional way. I think this is really important to make this distinction. This is non-transactional. I'm literally just collaborating with my client. I can do it with and without pricing, which is really nice, because if you're in a collaborative state, you may not want to reveal pricing at this stage, or maybe you do, to be completely transparent with your client. So I can just click on this directly. I can share it directly through the platform, and it automatically copies me on this email. Or I can just click the copy link button and put it into an email of my own. And again, I can do it with or without pricing. So I can toggle between the two of these if I wish. Then once I'm ready to check out, I can click on the checkout button, and you have one of three ways in which you can check out. One is, as I mentioned, you simply just take your full discount and you're done. That's it. You invoice your client offline from Daniel House Club, and that's it. You just complete the transaction and you're good. Now, there's two other options. One is I can check out with my client's credit card or ACH information, if they give us that authority to do that, or I can also send it to my client. And so let's just say I'm going to send it to my client. I'm going to click on that. I can select as many boards here as I wish under this particular project. I only have one board, but if I had multiple and I just wanted to send one large invoice to my client, I can select as many as I wish here. And then I'm going to click Create Cart. This is where you start to create the invoice directly. We would fill in this information here. Also, this little button here that says Allow Client to Remove Products Before Completing Checkout. You can lock that down if you wish. So if you don't want to have your clients have the ability to remove product, then just uncheck it. But if you do, you can keep that checked. And then there's a couple of new things that we just enabled and enacted for putting together line item discounts. So I can actually make changes here as a blanket discount to the entire invoice, or if I wanted to set a discount share by percent or by dollar amount, I can do that, or I can do it by individual line item. The only restriction to doing it with the individual line item, where I would just put in a dollar amount here, is that you cannot go, obviously, above MAP or below your discounted price. So that's the only thing that you don't have the ability to do with this. But I can still make as many changes as I wish here to quantities. I can remove items if I wish, and then also make changes to the individual line items or to the blanket cart or invoice as well. The side mark and delivery notes, this is really important. If there's any special delivery notes, let's say you're sending it to a receiver that has business hours between 8 and 4 p.m., you would want to indicate that here. You can also indicate here or at checkout the receiver's phone number and or their email address if you don't want to be contacted about the delivery notifications and you just want it to go directly to your receiver. Or you can also put this as your client's information and they can be responsible for it. Oftentimes that's the case. But anything that is a side mark or a delivery note can be indicated here. If there's any special instructions for the order as well, it will automatically trigger a notification to our operations and logistics team that will then indicate to the delivery agent what that special instruction is. Also, if there's anything special about the order, maybe it's a note for concierge services, we will be notified about it and then we will contact you as well. So it's really kind of a free text field for you to indicate any special instructions, any side marks, or any additional delivery notes for the delivery agent. This would also be a place where you would indicate if there are stairs, for example. Our delivery agents deliver obviously anywhere, but if there's any special instructions around the delivery location, that's also a place where you'd want to indicate as well.
Hey, Robert, a quick question in the chat.
Yeah.
It would be great if we could create mood boards, not just a product list on your site and share on a different social media platform. Any plans for future enhancement?
Yeah, very good. Very good suggestion. It's one that we've actually had in the past as well. Right now, the way that we have our vendor relationships is that they don't allow us to have the product indicated anywhere but on our website. That being said, we have an affiliate program at Daniel House Club where you can go to partners.danielhouse.club and join as an affiliate. You obviously have to be a member first to be an affiliate, but you can create lookbooks, for example, and we provide you with an affiliate link, and that affiliate link will then obviously give you credit for the transactions. This is something we can actually talk about in much more depth if you wanted to schedule a one-on-one, whoever asked the question, but we do have the ability to do that, and you can share that link either on your website or via social media as well, and you do receive credit for those transactions, and that would be to general consumers primarily, so they would be purchasing at retail. There would not be a discount structure that they would be accustomed to, but if you were doing that, I would assume that you would probably want to take them on as a client, and then you would create the project board and share it out that way. But yes, we do have the ability to do that. Right now, we don't have the ability to formally share things on social media via an integration with any social media platforms. And that's just because of the agreements we have with our vendors currently.
I'm going to jump in real quick and say that we are the back-end supplier for a lot of the available inventory on tradespoke.com. So if you did go and become a member at Tradespoke, they're specifically designed for this kind of work, and you would be actually purchasing a lot through Daniel House Club still. So that would be one way to do this really seamlessly. I put the link to that company in the chat.
Yeah, that's great. And then, pardon me, got a little bit of water there to drink. The other thing to mention is that we are going to be enhancing our affiliate program this year. So we want to make it much easier to become an affiliate. And also, we realize that the best word of mouth about Daniel House Club is from our members. And so just look for some changes that we will be making with our affiliate program this coming year.
Robert, I just wanted to follow up with Melanie's question about the shipping. So where she was asking previously about it would be great if a cart could show shipping type and location, things like that. Let's say, for example, she selected white glove. She followed up by saying it was after the order was made. It would be great to have someplace listed on the website in her account where she could see for a particular order what shipping level she requested and what the
see. I see. Okay, yeah, that's a really good suggestion, Melanie. That would be something that I think we could take back to our web development team, who's actually going to be developing out the dashboard. And that could be something that would be indicated directly on the order history as well. So I think that's a really great suggestion, just in case you at any point forgot about what level of delivery service you had placed with an order. So yeah, really great suggestion. Thank you for the clarification.
And then one more question from Cheryl. For inside deliveries to one client with multiple vendors, can we request one delivery for all items?
Right now, we don't have consolidated deliveries or freight consolidation. It is something that we are looking into. That being said, there are a few little workarounds related to that. I use the word workaround because once a shipment, and this could be from a particular vendor, it could be from an order, it could be from multiple orders, but if once a shipment arrives at the delivery agent, we pick up 15 days of storage for you. So if you have other items that are coming in within that 15-day period that because they are in stock or they have similar lead times, you can just email us directly and say, hey guys, can you just work with the delivery agent and let them know that I want to have all 2 or all 3 or 4 of these shipments delivered at one time. And if it's within that 15 days, then you're golden. Even if you're outside of that 15 days, you do have a nominal, it's I think $5 per shipment per day storage fee charge. Now, that being said, the delivery agents are not set up to be receivers, so they can't hold things for months on end. They could probably hold things for a week or two outside of that initial 15 days. So there are certain workarounds in which we can do so that we can have as many things delivered at once. Hopefully that makes sense.
And adding just one thing here again, it is our biggest internal project of 2026 to make consolidation for your orders possible within a year. So not promising we'll be successful, but that is what we are working on aggressively. So
as you can imagine, it is quite an undertaking, primarily because we're dealing with hundreds of vendors with hundreds of different processes. So, but the good news is that because for the most part, we own the shipping process with our own shippers and our own delivery agents, we're hoping that this will make it a little bit easier to implement. But we do want to pilot it first, work out the kinks before we actually implement it to our member audience.
I'm going to circle back to Laura's question in a minute, but since this is still on topic, Rebecca asked, do you recommend that we just have it shipped to our own receiver for now?
For consolidation in a single install date, yes. Yes, for right now, yes.
And then Laura asked, is there a way to favorite certain products within a project? For example, if I save 3 chair options and then want to select one without deleting the others, is there a way to do that?
Right now, we don't have a favoriting, but we are looking to do a wish list / favoriting so that you can reuse items over and over again on certain projects. That is forthcoming. So you do have the ability to do that. My suggestion right now would be to just create a project and a board with your favorites, and then you can just pull from that directly and add those to new project boards as well. But we are going to be coming out with a formal sort of favorite, where you heart the item, and that will be on your favorite or a wish list. Okay. So going back here to our creation of the card or invoice, you can add also line items to your invoice. So let's just say maybe you purchased a vintage item. You don't know how to invoice the client for it. Maybe they're just purchasing all their product through us, through you. You can add a line item here. You can also add your service fee if you wish. You would just click on the add your own product or service here, and then you can invoice the client directly. Then I would just go into creating the actual nuts and bolts of the invoice. And this is where I had mentioned you can select your service level. So you'll find out exactly how much you're going to pay. Also for our Canadian clients, you will see everything indicated here. You will never get a surprise invoice for a random customs or duty fee. Everything is indicated here. The shipping fee is split out from duties, taxes, and customs fees for Canadian clients as well. But you will, for our US clients, you will never see anything other than this for your shipping costs. So this is what you pay when you check out, and that's it. And then you would just click on, I'm going to select just residential, curbside. And then I can still make changes to the invoice here if I wish. I can make changes and remove items to quantities, etc., and then just click send. And then that sends the invoice directly to my client. I can also make changes to my discount by clicking on the edit board details function here. So I can do a blanket discount, or at the board level, I can also do the pricing editor, just like we had for the cart, and actually make changes to the board as well with pricing. So I can do either of those, which is really nice. Now, we have about 1 minute left until we come on with Wendy, but I just wanted to quickly go to a product information page. This sofa has gotten more coverage than I think anything on Daniel House Club because I use it time and time again for trainings. But a couple of things here that you'll see, which you probably already have seen if you've logged in. We indicate retail price as well as MAP, and also your membership price here. So you will always see your pricing indicated right away. You'll also see if the item is in stock. Everything ships from vendors, and then also the arrival time. So this is our estimated arrival time to you, not the production lead time. All of our lead times on the site are arrival times, just so you know. And then I can add it to a board here, or I can create a new project by clicking on Create New Project. So this is where you would add it directly to the board that you had. I kind of steer people away from doing the add to cart because all that does is just add it to the site cart here up on the top right, and it doesn't associate it to any project. It just makes it much easier. And also that cart on the site does automatically refresh every 14 days. And that, again, is a Shopify setting, unfortunately. So we don't have really any control over that. So if you've saved an entire project just in the site cart, I highly recommend using the project and board model. And then really quickly, just going through some of these other indications here with weight and dimensions, specifications. These are all directly from the vendor. And also whether or not there is a return policy for the item. For this particular vendor, they do not accept remorse returns, meaning if you changed your mind, if the item somehow, you just don't need it. Unfortunately, for this particular vendor, we aren't allowed to accept returns. Most of our vendors do accept returns with restocking fees and return shipping, of course, that's taken out. But there are some vendors who have very strict no remorse return policies. And then we also have our shipping policy here and additional disclaimer information as well. With that, I am going to stop sharing my screen and go back onto camera. And I would like to introduce our special guest for today, who is Wendy Estela. Wendy is an attorney. She's been an attorney for many years, but she recently went out on her own and started her own practice. And I met Wendy about 1.5 years ago, a little bit over, well, maybe about 1 year ago, actually. And she's also an extremely good lunch date. So highly recommend having your first meeting with her if you decide to engage with her at a restaurant where you can have a nice meal with her. But she's really great. And Wendy, we had you on 1 year ago, I believe, January, we like to kick our year off with Wendy, and I think we need to start doing that tradition. So, but welcome, Wendy. And
Thank you.
I have a presentation that you sent over to us that we will go through, but maybe you can just give a little bit of an introduction about yourself.
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, thank God. Okay, because that's the first thing. I'm technologically challenged, so I've got the AirPods, and I never know where the noise is coming from, but it's good. Okay, so my name is Wendy. I've been a lawyer for 25 years. It's hard to believe. My background really started with construction and working with like architects, engineers, that kind of thing, more in a commercial setting. And then I worked for companies, and I was in private practice. So I've worked in-house, I've worked for private practice, and I've had many different types of clients. In the past, say 5 to 10 years, I've accumulated a lot of interior designers as clients, and I love it. And I was thinking about this last night. I'm like, why do I love this industry so much? And it's because I am not a creative person, as far as like, I could not design a room. Peter's been to my house, he knows. But it's a work in progress. But I've always really like loved and admired everything that all of you do. And I've read all the magazines in my 20s and 30s. And at one point last year, I was actually at a client's installation, and I was in this room, and I'm like, it's about to be photographed. And I was like, I can't believe, like, I'm kind of like in one of the rooms that I was admiring, 10, 15 years ago in these magazines. It's like just such an honor to work in this industry. I really, like I said, I know nothing about how you come up with these beautiful visions, but I love it. I love being around it. And I have hundreds of one-on-one clients I work with, like interior designers I write contracts for. I settle disputes for them. I don't go to court. I'm really more of like, I'm a lawyer who's doing commercial type stuff, helping you make the deal and fix the problems with the client and get out of the bad deal, which is what we're going to talk about today. And, we'll talk a little bit about this too. I have so many people that come up to me after these presentations. They're like, I didn't think there were any lawyers that did this. And I never thought there was a demand for it. So that's what's really interesting. So I created Designed Counsel, which is launching tomorrow, let's say tomorrow / over the weekend. And it's a template library. There's going to be 40 templates for design contracts, commercial contracts, correspondence with your clients, like anything you could think of. I'm going to be adding to that by request of members. It's a subscription service. And then I also am offering monthly training, which is similar to this setting. And then what I call Designed Answers by Wendy. So people will be able to submit questions, very specific, and I will answer them, like a recorded answers. And that's a new service that I'm offering, because I can't have like every one-on-one client, but I'm trying to create something so you have access and you could grab the documents you need very quickly. So that's me. We could start. Go ahead.
Wendy, I'm just going to jump in and say you have been very generous in welcoming all Daniel House Club members to your
Yes.
All Daniel House Club paid members to your invitation-only design council group. So at the end of this, we are going to put a link in the chat where you can join the group. And I believe Wendy is saying it will be ready tomorrow. So don't go, don't go try and use it today. And if you miss that, we will be sending out a series of emails all about this over the next couple of weeks. And at this moment, it's just going to be a link. In the very near future, it will live in the Daniel House Club Pro Shop, where we connect you with all sorts of partners that we're working with. So, but Wendy will be the first of the Pro Shop people, and you'll find that on your dashboard within a couple of weeks. So
it's all that fun technology I started by talking about. And just so you know, in the very last slide, I do think I was able to drop the link in with the promo code, so everything should be there. And if there are any issues, I put the email address, just email me. But it, like Peter said, it's by invite only. So I've worked with a ton of designers. I'd say 99.9% have been great, but I am vetting people. I'm vetting people because I don't want, just like you guys, we'll talk about the red flags and all of that, but I want to know who's joining, and I want it to be a productive community. It's not going to be one of those communities where you're all chatting all day long. I mean, maybe it'll develop into that, but right now it's going to be truly tools for you to use to improve your business. So, okay. So basically today, I always, I think last year I talked about it too, but I always talk about what should be in your contract. Okay. And I'm happy to talk about that, but I want to talk about the fact that you can have a perfect contract and things can still go wrong. And what happens? Like, what happens in that case? The big thing that people always ask me for is like, I want this bulletproof contract. So if my clients are difficult, I'm going to win in court and they can't do anything about it, right? Well, I always say, if you end up in court, you're already losing. And why is that? Like, you could have the best contract and you can still get sued. Like, people bring frivolous claims all day. So what happens when that happens? And I know you all know somebody who has a horror story. Most of them have called me at some point. So we can go to the next slide. Just the typical disclaimer. I'm not your attorney yet. Go right into the learning objectives. We're going to talk specifically about what I call the archetypes of the bad faith interior design clients. You all know them, but I'm starting to put them in buckets and what drives them. And I'll tell you the answer to my original question, my original point of you could have a great contract, but it could still become a problem, is these bad clients. Okay. The one who you do everything for and you give them all the deliverables, and then they come back and ask for everything, all their money back plus some. I've got 2 active clients right now that have that exact, lawyer clients, like my clients who are the designers who have that exact scenario. So we're going to talk about how to identify that, how to get ahead of it. So you're going to understand how to manage those clients by using your contract and avoiding a lawsuit. You're also going to understand how to make sure you're ahead with payment. And not just that, but make sure the client understands payment, understands what you get paid for, and gets to the point where they have to look you in the eye and say, I understand this, so that down the line you can't dispute it. And then I also want you to understand why termination for convenience provisions are very important. So next slide. So I've been using this term for like a year, the new transparency, and I wrote a blog article about it. And basically what this means to me, like when I started in this industry, everybody was saying, well, I have to have my contract be transparent. Everybody wants to know what I'm paying and like what the markup is and this and that. And they want to see everything. And I feel like I have to do this. And that's true. That happened. Okay. And it's happening. And you also have some designers that are just passing through their pricing to their clients. And then you have other designers who have been around for a long time and they're taking their wholesale pricing and they're marking up by 200 and 300%. I've seen these people. Okay. There's these ranges of how product pricing works, and it creates a mess for your industry. In particular, this is where I give these homeowner clients like the benefit of the doubt. They don't know what's going on. Okay. So they work with one designer who does one thing, and they work with the next designer who does it totally different. And they are confused. So they come to you price a certain way, and they're like, well, my last designer didn't do that. I saw everything. And now what? That creates a lot of confusion, and it leads to disputes. It happens all the time. The main area of disputes I'm seeing right now are the disputes over product, anything after the design phase. It's like in that period of time in the design process, the project process. So, what do you do? What do you do to deal with the expectation of the client that they're going to have full transparency? Okay. And they also have kind of like a preconceived notion of what should be happening based on their 1 or 2 experiences with the designer. And there's no industry standard of what's supposed to be happening. That's the landscape. So the new transparency that I believe we need to have is focus on client education. And your contract is a piece of that, but the bigger piece of it is you, and it's your ability to communicate with your client and show them the amount of transparency you want to. Okay. So another thing that I do a little differently, I know there are a lot of coaches out there. I'm not really a coach. Every designer is a little different, right? And some designers are comfortable saying, yeah, I'm charging you cost plus. Others are saying, I charge a discount off retail. Others are just showing everything. I don't like slap you on the wrist if you're doing it one way or another. You've got to run your business and you have to do it the way that works for you. I know what I think is the best, and I think that the designer should just be able to set the price. Okay. But I understand that at different phases of your business, that might not work for you. at that point. I think it's something great to work towards. Regardless of what you do, it doesn't matter, but you have to be able to articulate it to your client, and your contract words have to say exactly what you do. Okay, that's what it comes down to. And not only that, you have to articulate it, your contract has to say it, but you have to make sure your client has read the contract and understands it. Okay. And so you need to be able to basically look across the table and have the client say, yes, I understand exactly how you charge and how you make money. Okay. And the last piece of that is the client has to be able to acknowledge and be okay with the fact that you make money on the sale of goods in an interior design arrangement. In a contract for interior design services, you, the designer, get to make money on the product. So many designers are afraid to say those words, and a lot of clients expect you not to make money. So we need to bridge that gap. And so this is where I'm coming in with this new transparency, which is, yeah, we're a business and we get to make money. That's the long and the short of it. And it requires direct communication that you might find uncomfortable and hard to explain, but I promise you it's a lot harder like 8 months later when you're having a fight with the client over the same exact conversation you could have had. So next slide. So I like to put in the very first page of your letter of agreement, within like the first paragraph or two, how not only, I'm happy that you hired me, very excited to work on your project. We're going to do beautiful things. Every designer is so excited to get into the creative. Okay. But on that first page, you have to say, this is the value I get from this deal. Okay. Because I'm not just here to make things pretty. I'm not just here from the joy of what I do. I do love what I do. Okay. I'm passionate about it. That's why I'm in this industry, but I'm also a business, and I want you to know, like I make money on this contract, as you know, but specifically, this is how I make money. So you have really like 4 legs to the stool in most cases of how you make money. And it's the 4 that are bulleted here. You make your design fees for your conceptual work, your creative work. You make revenue as a retailer, which is your markup. You have implementation hours for project implementation or management or coordination, whatever you call it. Okay. And it's very important to tell the client upfront that you have an expectation to get your photography, and that has value to you. Okay. And I could go on and on about photography. I'm not going to, but just think about this, that if at the end of the project, your client's trying to stiff you, and you have a choice that they're going to ask for $10,000 off an invoice, 5, 10, whatever, or they're not going to let you photograph. Which one is worse? And think of it as being like the project that is the career-changing project. And in that case, for the career-changing project, bring that number up another 5,000. They want to stiff you 15,000, or you can't get the photos. One or the other, which is the worst scenario. Most times the designer is saying, I want my photos because I want to have a chance to get these published. This is the career-changing moment for me. So for that reason, as part of this transparency, the client needs to understand that your part of your compensation is photography. There's ways to address that. The other piece of this 4 components, and the way I like to explain it, is that if one of these gets knocked out, another one has to be increased. So if they're going to try to really negotiate pricing on a product, then you're going to have to charge more for your design fee. Or maybe your hourly rate goes up if they're trying to get your flat design rate down. Or maybe your hourly rates, if you're just hourly, go up across the board because you're going to anticipate problems when the client tries to go purchase on their own and they back off of that guaranteed budget that they agreed to with you. Because back to this thing of, what happens? Are you going to sue them? A lot of designers have a guaranteed project budget with their client. The client will sign the budget. Okay. This is your dream client. What happens when they're paying their bills, everything's going great, but then they decide they're going to cut back on what they want to purchase by 30%. Now you're impacted and you're making less money. So that's very important to think about how all these go together. what you're going to do. And, are you going to sue your client if that happens? No, it's a great project. You're going to keep going. But what are the other ways to make yourself whole, okay, other than suing a client? Because suing is not the answer. And if you've got this great contract, the answer with a contract, if there's a breach, is to find the remedy for the breach. A lot of people think I would win in court. You don't want to get there. So we have to come up with these in-between ways to solve the problems that arise in the life of that contract. One other thing before we flip the slide, I like to focus on the fact that your job is to deliver exceptional design, and it's not to get clients the lowest price. This is another misconception of clients that hire you. They think that your job is to get them the best price. And this is why I try to include in contracts language that says we don't price match, we don't, guarantee we have the lowest price. I mean, the whole point of this transparency is for the clients to understand there's value to what you're selling. You're going to be selling them a number of products. You do not want them checking every single thing to see if they can get it for a better price. That's not how this works. And by educating the client on how interior design works, you're going to hopefully avoid most of these issues. But let's go to the next slide. So again, the goal is to get the client to understand that you are a business. You're not their best friend who's going to shop with them. You need the clear contracts and you need educated clients. And really, I would say, like, as far as what's important, right? You need a contract, obviously, but I would almost argue that more importantly, you need a good relationship with that client, and you need to have good communication, because the minute that it goes sideways, your contract is there to legally protect you from like the big things. But an example I've used, or a image I've used before, is like, the trapeze artist in the circus from back in the day. Your contract, that person's up on the high wire. Your contract is the net at the very bottom. It's protecting you from the catastrophic issue. It's protecting you from the fall. Okay. There are things that can happen along the way. You, as a trapeze artist, you have to be able to balance. You have to be in good shape. You have to be able to get across to the other side. You're doing all of that. And if all of those things don't work, you've got the net underneath you. Your contract is the net. There's all the other things that have to happen. And those things up top, on the top of that that high wire, or tightrope, whatever it's called, are that's the relationship. And it's a hard thing to manage. You got to manage it. So, it's a mix of having boundaries in the contract, but also enforcing the boundaries and keeping an eye on the client. So we'll talk about that more as we go. Next slide. Okay, so I know I'm running out of time, so I'm going to start moving a little faster. So we're going to talk about some of the problem clients. And very important word of advice is, at the beginning of any contract, any industry, including marriage is its contract, everyone's happy. Nobody's planning for the divorce ever. You're always happy. Great clients. Okay. You have to think of every client as a potential problem client. Now, I have a disclaimer to say, I know that there are tons of great clients. Okay, great homeowner clients, wonderful. I only hear about the bad ones. So to me, they're all bad. Okay. And I'm probably one of the only people in this industry that can come out and talk about bad clients, because if you guys go on panels and start talking about bad clients, you're not going to get any more clients. So I'm here to kind of shine the light on these and say the things that you're all thinking and that you've all experienced, but I can talk about it. And I'm speaking from real examples that I've dealt with. So next slide. All right. So they're all kind of similar, but they're a little bit different. So the profile: lonely, wealthy client that treats the designer like a therapist or friend. And what happens is this, right? Okay.
Wendy, this is why I got out of the industry.
Yeah, right. They're your best friend. They want to shop with you. They just love you. The best friends. Okay. They're telling you everything. You're in their closet. They're literally in their closet or in their bedroom. They're telling you about their partner who's awful. They're telling you about their mother-in-law, everything. Boundaries are blurred. You're sitting there, you're listening. Now, the personal crisis intensifies. So, okay, they have a fight with the spouse, something's happening personally, okay? Life is spiraling. Now, they're not going to go after the person they complained about. They're going to come after you. It just happens. Now, I'm not a psychologist, and I'm actually, what I want to do is come up with, like, I want to find somebody who will jump in as a psychologist and help me analyze these things and like really come up with the archetype. But what happens is they come after the designer, you know, and this is just an example of something that can happen. You manipulated me, or you know, something happened. I don't like the design. I want all this money back. Okay. And this is, you're almost done with the project. I see most disputes happening at the 70 to 90% complete mark. And in this past, I'd say 6 months, I've seen three disputes where the designer has come to me as their lawyer and said, I don't know what's happening. I did 90% of the work. You know, I'm done. I'm at the very end. They have everything. They want a full refund. Okay. All the design fee, their house is fully decorated. They want everything. And then one of these disputes, the client's asking for more because, oh, we also had to go hire a different builder. And then we had to do this and we had to hire a replacement designer. This is how extreme it gets. Like they can't even have a measured level of anger at you. It's extreme. Okay. So that's just one example. So the lesson, the contract has to establish boundaries. Okay. Now, boundaries. It's a simple thing as having a communication part of your contract that says, look, we're not going to respond to text messages regarding design decisions. Everything would be over email. If we have those text messages, we only respond during business hours. We reserve the right to respond the next business day. You've got to not only have that written in your contract, but you have to follow it. Okay, you have to be firm. And I'm saying that as a person who has the same issues as you. Okay, like I get all these crazy text messages. I'm so tempted because I'll be up like doing weird stuff at 2 a.m, like scrolling TikTok, whatever. I'll get a text from somebody and I almost want to respond to be like, oh my God, I'm awake too. No, stop. I've had to have conversations with myself to say, stop. You're creating problems for yourself because you think you're being cute. You think you're being funny. You like them back. They're nice people. You know, it's like, you got to be strict with yourself and disciplined. This is a huge issue. And the minute, I always use this terminology, these clients are so entitled. Okay. They're so entitled. They're used to getting what they want. When they get that one opening, that's the word, the opening, they exploit it. So the first time you break your rule about not responding to texts at a certain time, guess what you're getting? All the texts. So next slide.
Also, this client is horrific at boundaries. So you have to be the one to establish the boundaries.
Yep. And by the way, this is the one, and we've all had this friend who tells you every like excruciating TMI detail of their personal life and how they hate their spouse, but they're all over social media with their spouse. And like, whoa, they're, you know, like I can think of people in my life that I could specifically pull up their page. I'd be like, yep, if I told you what she told me, you know what I mean? And then they're mad that they overshared. So now it's uncomfortable. So they pull away from you. Okay. So that friend in real life starts to back off. You're like, I haven't heard from them in a while. The client, it's the same thing with the client, but what they do is like distance themselves from you. They're like, I really don't want to I don't even want to see this designer anymore because I shared too much and now it's weird. And now they see me with my spouse. And that translates into the crappy behavior that you receive from these clients. Okay. These are humans, you know, and this is human behavior. And I see it time and time again. All right. So here's the next one. The control freak, I call it, right? Executive who micromanages, finds the lowest price or looks for the lowest price, wants price matching. The wife has an eye for design and she's really good at it. And she wants to project manage. And there's constant changes, no committing to decisions. And the delays are happening because of them. So let me just add another element of a real deal I'm dealing with. Okay. So let's just say this is a 20,000 square foot house and there are multiple designers that have been cycled through, and there's at least 2 builders have been cycled through. And the designer is, the wife of the husband and the wife don't want to hire a project manager. The general contractor is not project managing. The designer is a very good professional designer and has asked for a schedule from the contractor. No schedule has been produced, no Gantt chart, no nothing. Okay. But at the initial kickoff meeting, the husband and wife said, well, we want to be done by March. Okay. March 5th, we have to be done. Okay. So the designer thinks they're going to take a chance with this client. They feel like they could exit the contract if they have to. They're going to take a chance. Well, they knew going into it was going to be bad. All right. So now the designer's in this project, no schedule is being produced. We get to January, and now the wife is saying, well, you guys are behind schedule and we're never going to be done in March. And yeah, sorry, I see Peter sending a message. I'm going to keep moving and we'll get through all of this. I promise. We might need an extra 10 minutes.
We're happy to stay along, Wendy.
Okay, good.
People who may need to leave.
Okay. So what happens is that none of it happens, right? This is not going to be a well-run project. The wife thinks she can run it because she likes design, and the husband is very wealthy, but he's also cheap. Okay. So now what? You're going to have a problem with this. So you've got to plan for it. You got to write your contract for it. So what do? Okay. You have to, and also they get a contractor, and now you have a triangle where it's the homeowners, the designer, and the contractor. If there's going to be a dispute and a problem on the project, who is getting blamed for that? It's not the homeowners. Are they ever going to take responsibility? No, not even a little bit. Contractor never will take responsibility because their whole life is to blame somebody else. And they're just a different archetype of themselves. And the designer is typically the most gentle of the 3. And they're the one that's going to bear the burden of being blamed for any issues on that project. So this is another great example of the designer is going, in my case, the designer got terminated, which was fine because we agreed you could both part ways. Even if you have a termination, either party can exit, you're not done with the fight, because what happens is now who owes who what when you terminate? Yes, designer gets paid for everything up until the date of the termination, right? But guess what happens? There's a fight over whether those charges were valid, okay? Because now the homeowners are unhappy with the fact their progress hasn't been met. They're going to come back at the designer and start pointing to, oh, we don't like the design. Okay, so you have to educate your client. I didn't really talk about so much the lowest price, but that issue's there too. And the lesson learned in this case, you need to define the relationship with the contractor and establish the communication method, how frequently you're going to meet, how you're going to determine who is responsible for schedule, because you all have contracts. The designer and the contractor both say that they're not responsible for schedule delays caused by somebody else. Okay. So if you have a schedule delay, what happens? So you absolutely need, on a project of that size, like 20,000 square foot, even a 5,000 square foot house, a schedule that says who's doing what by what dates, clear communication. And you as a designer have to set expectations with the client saying, this is a large scope project. I understand your wife really loves design, but is she a project manager? Are we going to be successful, all of us, without having somebody running the show here? Okay. Now, whoever is going to be the project manager, that's for you to decide, but that role has to be filled, and it can't be by the rich, absent husband and the wife that thinks she's a designer. Okay. So that's a real scenario. Next slide. All right. And I'll kind of move through this one quickly. I don't have to tell you all the problems. We've all dealt with them. Okay. So this is where the designer, the wife is making decisions, and then the husband now has a business setback, and now he's going to fire the designer because he's not happy with the design work. And now they're together asking for a full refund. And by the way, not only if you don't give the money back, which your contract does not require you to give any of the money back. Okay. You have non-refundable fees. Okay. So this is what I mean beyond the contract. Your contract protects you in this situation. If you get sued in this situation where you get fired because they just don't like the design, your contract language protects you. If you have to use your contract to defend yourself, you're in a better position than if you have to use your contract to sue, like you being the one to sue. So you're in a better position. But what happens when these clients now are saying, well, we're going to destroy you. You know what? We're going to ruin your reputation. We're telling everyone in our neighborhood about you, and we're going to write bad Google reviews. How do you manage this situation? These are the designers that call me crying because they're like, I had everything right. I thought these people were wonderful. The contract is strong. I'm reading the contract. It protects me. Why are these people doing this? Do I have to give them a full refund to make them go away and stop trying to disparage me? Okay. So no easy answers. Okay. But I can tell you for all of these, if you at the very beginning of the contract not only have the strong contract, you have to have, you can go to the next slide because these are going to be the answers for everything. You're going to be very clear on how you're compensated. You're going to collect money in advance. So you're the one holding the money. Okay. You're going to have a strong contract. So if you got sued, you know that your language protects you. You don't want to be the one collecting the money. You want to be the only way you win in these dynamics with every one of the ones I just went through, every one of them, the only way you have power in that negotiated resolution is by being ahead on the money, okay, getting paid in advance as much as possible, and having a contract that does protect you. Because if you're the one holding the money, when these people come at you, you can decide if you're going to give some back. If you have a great contract, but you haven't been paid in full, and you're now trying to get paid that last invoice of $80,000, you're not getting it. You're not getting it because these people are going to come back at you and say, oh, you want your $80,000? We want the whole amount back because we think you were in default and you didn't do this and your design was terrible. We had to hire someone else. So now you're in a negotiated resolution where they've said that they're owed $300,000, you're owed $80,000. They're going to say, why don't we just, agree we're going to part ways. Okay. But if you're the one holding the money, it's very hard, and it's hard for them to come and get it from you because they have to initiate a lawsuit that they are going to likely lose if they see it through. So you never want to be in the lawsuit situation. But if they're threatening it, you want to be in a position that your lawyer can say, go for it, but read the contract. It's very clear what it says. And that does have power. Okay. It's not a hopeless situation, but I can tell you the only situation with these clients that truly protects you is not just a good contract, holding all the money and, or being ahead on the money, and really doing everything you said you're going to do. Because if there is any opening, remember I use the word opening, they will exploit it. So this is sample language. We could flip through it because you can come back to it. And so all of these pieces, they established your compensation as industry standard. There is no industry standard. There's no industry standard. All designers do it differently. So what you're going to tell your client is what I'm doing is industry standard, because the industry standard is there's a variety of ways to charge. Okay. So that deals with the pricing of the products. Okay. You want to make it known to your client that if they were going to your store, if you had a store, they would never ask you for the breakdown of the pricing. We wouldn't be having these fights over who's buying what's the cost of something, what's the price, like tell me, what you paid for it. How is that fair? No, you're the store. Okay. You want to outline all the revenue components. You want to explain the benefit that you're giving your client. Why are they hiring you? I mean, if it's so easy, go do it yourself. You are providing a luxury service, and you need to explain everything you do. To the layman, procurement sounds easy. Purchasing, placing orders sounds easy. And honestly, I mean, with Daniel House Club, it's a lot easier, okay? But you need to explain everything that goes into your decisions to source what you're sourcing, okay? And the other thing, you need to tell the client, look, I have relationships with my vendors and wholesalers, and I am bound to keep that pricing private. Like, that's subject to confidentiality with my own agreements. I can't just give this information out. That may or may not be true, but that's another piece of the argument. And when I tell you, you can't just write that in the contract. You have to sit and have a conversation that might be uncomfortable with your client, look them in the eye, and make sure that they're sitting there saying, yes, I do understand. And you ask them over and over, because when they start being jerks down the road, you're going to say, remember when we went to lunch and we talked about the contract? And remember, I went through this with you. And remember, I gave you examples. And remember, I told you about what the industry is seeing as bad clients. Like, hey, not to be offensive to you, but this, what you're asking me is kind of what those bad clients look like. And if you start using examples like that, they'll remember. Again, it's not just the words in the contract, it's the communication. Next slide. This is some sample language you can look at later, but very quickly on termination. I see a lot of contracts written by other lawyers or coaches or whatever that say there's two clauses, a termination for default and a termination for convenience. Default means you breach the contract, I'm terminating with 14 days notice, and I have a right to terminate because you didn't do what you said you would do, designer or client or whoever. It goes both ways. Termination for convenience says either party may terminate this agreement for any reason by providing written notice. Now, very important to go with the termination for convenience, because it's already going to be a fight over what's owed at the end. But if you also are adding on one party proving that the other party was bad, you're just inviting even more of this conflict. So I take out termination for default altogether, and I just have a very good termination for convenience clause. So it's a no fault divorce from the client, and all you're doing is figuring out dollars and cents. Now, I put in language here saying that the designer will, if you look at the third paragraph down, it's a second line at the end. Designer will refund any unearned or unused portion of advance payments or retainers in an amount determined by designer in designer's sole discretion, after deducting fees, expenses, costs, blah, blah, blah. That's important because you can terminate, you can fire your client, you've collected a bunch of money, and now you can say, hey, I'm terminating you. I'm sending you a partial prorated refund. I've paid myself, goodbye. And if they want to fight it, that's fine. But you are the one in the driver's seat because you're the one choosing to refund versus being the one choosing to send a final invoice and crossing your fingers that they pay if they feel nice that day. You don't want to be in that second situation. Next slide. Again, even with perfect transparency, you're still going to have these people. You have to read the slide yourself. Narcissists, okay? People that are pushing their stress onto you, all or nothing, meaning the people asking for the whole design fee and the cost of the furnishings back. People that want to punish you. This is this industry, unfortunately. And I, every day, am amazed that so many of you are in it because I have not seen anything like this in any other industry. I'm not joking. I've seen, like, it's so different. I've worked on big power plants where, you're dealing with like GE and like big contractors, and they hate each other and they're screaming. They can come to a deal because they can see the business aspects of it. Not here. Like design contracts is a totally different thing. So again, you've got to be the one holding all the cards so you can choose how it's going to end. Next slide. Okay, so again, I've said this over and over, cash flow, termination. Those two things are going to really protect you. There are a few other things in the contract that should already be there, like a limit on liability. And so your contract should also say that no matter what happens, like let's say you totally screw up, you should not be able to be sued for more than the value of the services provided. That's it. The amount you've been paid under the contract for the services. So You don't want to have to ever touch giving back any markup on a product. But let's just say you really got pushed against the wall and you did screw up, refund the fees, but don't refund your markup. Okay. And your contract can protect you with that, because it will say that. And there's certain things that the minute another lawyer gets involved, even if it's just a letter writing campaign, that lawyer does have to explain to the client how their contract operates. So that does protect you without going to court. So more reason you need a good contract. But again, I can't tell you enough. Every single time, it's like, look at who's holding the money that's being fought over, and that is the person that's most likely winning the dispute. And one other piece on that, in the cash flow, is that to hire a lawyer to do anything is expensive. Okay. If you are trying to collect $30,000 over a contract dispute, expect to spend 15 to try to get the 30. So when you start doing the math, the question lawyers always ask is the juice worth the squeeze? Is it worth it? Is it worth not only the value proposition with money, but do you really want to be in a situation where you're now in some sort of litigation setting where you're fighting and you're stressed out and you're getting lawyer letters and you're reviewing lawyer letters and you're, anxious, and you're receiving a letter on a Friday afternoon at 4:45 and you can't talk to your lawyer till Monday. So now your whole weekend is ruined. Is that worth it? Is it worth it? So people all know this, and these clients are wealthy and they know it. They know lawyers very well. Okay. You need to be cash flow positive, because if you're not, you're really sitting there saying, should I be suing to get my money? And on the other side, the client, if you're holding your client's money, is saying, I'm gonna have to pay a lot to get that back. I already have a lot of money. Why am I in this fight with these people? Like, eventually they might back off. Another tactic I use when dealing with these difficult people, and I didn't even put this in the presentation, but I will tell you, my number one tactic when I've got a narcissistic homeowner client, I drag it out. Okay, because the longer it goes out, I know they've moved on to another enemy. So I've been able to successfully resolve some like five-figure disputes for very little, just by dragging something out for like 8 or 9 months to getting it resolved. So it's like, but my client was holding the money. Okay, so hold it. Let these people go away, find other enemies. Okay, keep going. Next slide. Again, we've already talked about a lot of this, so we can keep going. And terminate, go back one slide for the termination. Okay. Think about this. And I'm divorced. Okay. I've got a lot of friends that we talk about like dating, right? And so my very good friend, he's like, I don't know, like I go on these dates, they're okay. And I just kind of end up down this path of like dating a person and it's okay, but I probably should have ended it. And I was thinking about that. I'm like, that's exactly the situation. Like, you have these certain clients and you're like, it's all right. Okay. They did something kind of weird. Is it enough to end the contract? Probably not. You need to know when to do it. And you've got the right to terminate the contract. So it's hard. This is very hard. When do you terminate? Is it the first sign of the boundary violation? It really should be. Okay, for the control freak person, the clear pattern of indecision, you really need to think about ending that relationship. They could be not making decisions, but paying you. And that's a hard time to end. If you're getting paid, you're usually not ready to pull the plug. You've got to separate that, okay? Because usually the failure to pay is coming when the problem has risen to such a high level, okay? So try to end things earlier if possible, as early as possible. There are many other clients out there. You will find another client. And let's see. Okay, next slide. So additional safeguards are things in your contract. Mandatory, I prefer arbitration, because mediation is not, there's no winner or loser selected in a mediation. In an arbitration, there is, okay? Limit of liability clause, fee shifting provision. So basically the loser of the lawsuit pays for the legal fees of the other party. Hopefully it's the client that's the loser or going to be in the losing position. It usually almost always is. Clear scope of work and change order language. If you are doing flat fee work, this is critical that your scope and your, what you're doing for that flat fee is covered. Portfolio rights have to be covered, and statement that the industry standard markup is non-negotiable. Like, just that's it. Like, you are able to make money on the product. Next slide. This is sort of repetitive, but you know what the red flags are. Go down to the bottom. Trust your gut and walk away when needed. Don't let it go too far. Okay. And the price matching that's like really a red flag, because if they start trying to price match, if they ask for your invoices, if they ask for, like, they're trying to audit you. If you have a client that's starting to have like audit-like behavior, that's a red flag, where they're trying to check you. Just watch for it. Okay. So it's the personal stuff, but the way they try to manage you, where they're not trusting you, that's like projection. You shouldn't be trusting them. Okay. Next slide. Yeah, we've already talked about all of this. Document everything. There's a way to do it. I mean, when there's bad behavior, document, write emails, follow up. I know a lot of people that use the AI note takers. Just make sure your contract says that we might use an AI note taker, because I know some people don't like that. But keep records of everything. And, again, the questioning, the withholding payment or threatening to withhold, the social media and reputation threats to me are way below the belt. And to me, that's an immediate exit. Next slide. So again, try to analyze what's going on with your client. Sometimes these people need to vent. Okay. And before you pull the plug, really try to get ahead on cash flow. I can't say that enough. So one other thing that I often tell my clients when they're trying to resolve a dispute, and I know I'm way over, but a lot of people want to win the dispute out of principle. And that's not always the right answer either. Okay. And your contract protects you, and you are right in that contract. That's not always the answer. It's not always the answer to shove that being right down the client's throat. The clients don't like to be told that they're wrong, even when they're wrong. So it's a very delicate balance. And I've noticed relationships go sideways the minute the designer's like, well, by the way, your contract does say the following. The client hates that. So the more you can educate the client ahead of time so they remember what's in that contract, the better chance you have that you don't have to remind them of what's in the contract. So there's no real way to know that they truly understand you, but you can get a lot from looking across the table from someone and looking in their eyes and having a true conversation. Next slide. We could keep going through these. Actually, there's one thing, go back again. There is one thing on this slide here. Settle or fight, okay? You're gonna, in most cases, settle with a client, okay? And a settle is just outside of court. I've seen none of these actually go through court where a judge issues a decision. It almost all settles, right? In every case, well, most cases, the client's resources far exceed you, so they can kill you with just frivolous litigation. You have other clients that you can be working for at the same time. If you have a good contract, you're in a better position to settle. You're going to always have a good contract, I hope. You're going to fight only when you have financial reserves. And usually in the case of a designer or any business, that comes from your insurance company. If you do not have insurance, get it now, okay? In many cases, the insurance company will protect you if you're getting accused of a faulty design or something like that, because that triggers a coverage. If the contract strongly favors you and you have insurance and cash flow on your side, you are in a strong position to win, whether, through leverage over the other party. And the other thing that, depending on where you're located, if you have the ability as a designer to place a lien on somebody's property, that's a very strong tool in your arsenal. And a mechanic's lien. So if you do work on somebody's house and they don't pay you, you can go to the town hall and file a mechanic's lien on their house. It puts a cloud on the title, the ownership of their house. If there's a mortgage, it has to get notified to the bank. Okay. Nobody wants that. And that gets you, that's like a tail wagging the dog in these fights. So all of that together, you have insurance on your side, your contract protects you, you've got the money, and you could file a lien. I can get you to win that one pretty easily because the client's going to back down. They're not getting their money. They probably owe you more on top of it, aside from what you've already held. Next slide. Know when to suspend work. I've seen almost everybody's contracts say, if you don't pay us, we have the right to suspend work. Do it. I don't know any designer who actually suspends work. You just keep working and hope they pay you. Send a letter saying, you're overdue on this payment. We have the right to suspend work. Send a second letter. Still haven't received this payment. As of right now, work is suspended. And then if they still don't pay you, you send a demand letter. So a series of 3, okay? And do what you can to protect your reputation. Make sure your contract says that in the event of a dispute, neither party is going to disparage each other. You're never going to disparage a client. The client's going to disparage you. If you have it in your contract that says they're not going to disparage you, if the minute another lawyer is involved on their end, you know, I write a letter to that lawyer or I call that lawyer, say, hey, tell your client to knock it off. We're trying to resolve this positively. Your client trying to disparage my client or writing a bad Google review is not doing anything to resolve this. So that's like kind of a method without suing. It's just giving the right. And by the way, your client actually agreed in the contract to not disparage. And so now they're in breach on top of it. So tell them to stop. Let's try to resolve this. These are the things in the contract that really protect you. They're little things. Next slide. Attorneys, like a lot of attorneys do not know this industry. I'm not saying that they all don't, but you have to really not only educate your client, but you need to educate your attorney. I had a potential client call me. She is being sued. She has an attorney. She's got an attorney. She's in Kentucky. And she's like, I don't think my attorney understands the industry. Can I hire you to talk to them? And I'm like, well, I will talk to them, but I think it's crazy. You have to have 2 lawyers, you know, a lawyer telling a lawyer. So remember, you can interview a lawyer, and also remember the lawyer works for you. And just remember, not all lawyers are made the same. Meet with a few of them until you find one that is the right click for you. Okay. And you need to make sure they get the power dynamic, because a lot of lawyers will just fight to fight, because if you're willing to pay, they'll fight to win on principle. Like I was saying before, you got to understand, they need to understand these archetypes of the clients, because it's a repetitive thing that I see. It's the same person on the other side of the table. It's the same nasty client, and it's the same set of facts. And I've seen it over and over, rinse and repeat. And then build a resilient practice, cash flow, contracts, document, talk to the client, and have your boundaries. And most importantly, your business, it might be an LLC, you might have a bunch of employees, whatever it is, it's still you. Take care of yourself, like self-care, okay? Because these litigation situations, these nasty clients take a toll. And I've had more than one designer tell me, I'm ready to quit the industry because I hate this and I can't take it. You are all, for the most part, like gentle souls, from what I can tell, and people want to make things beautiful and help others. You're like ripe for the picking with these narcissistic, awful clients. Next slide. So a lot of this is repetitive. Okay, we could keep going. And the key takeaways are that you've got to be willing to talk to your client about how you make money. I can't say it enough. And if your rates are too low, increase them, because the clients tend to treat, if you're bargain price, they treat you like bargain basement. You're the Old Navy dress versus the, pick your designer. Okay. You've got to charge a premium for your services, because they will treat you better, but you need to articulate how you make money, why you deserve to make that, and how anything that they attack there is going to make another piece of that compensation go up. That's important to talk about. You're not going to get perfect clients all the time. You have to expect that these relationships can end before the end of what you're supposed to be doing. They can end at any step of the design contract, and you have to know at each step what it is that you expect to be paid and what you would give back to them if it ends, because that's what you end up fighting over, not the ending, but who owes who what. And if you've got these bad faith clients with unlimited resources, you've got to be prepared to level the playing field. And the only way is the cash flow and the good contract. That's it. So this is how you win, besides just having a strong contract. Okay. Next slide. That's it.
Yeah.
So I was way over. I cruised through those by an hour. I'm sorry. So questions, anything. I'm happy to take some.
We had one question asked a long time ago about credit card payments. So
Yeah.
Julianne said, I've heard of some designers who faced clients who paid with their credit cards for design fees, and after the project was done, they disputed the charge with the bank and funds were reversed to the designer. How can you avoid that?
Don't take credit card for fees. With Daniel House Club, we've talked about this before. That's right. I love you guys. That's Daniel House Club's risk if they dispute on a product purchase. This is exactly why I say don't take credit card for your fees, because this can happen.
Awesome.
That's it. There's no good answer. And I mean, most contracts I see from designers, they're not taking credit card. And you know what? Remember, these clients are sophisticated, and they know if they play with a credit card, they can do this. They can pull that. They know it.
Okay. Well, Wendy, thank you so much. I put the link to find Wendy via Daniel House Club in the chat here, but Robert, could you also copy paste the link that Wendy provided in that presentation? Again, if you want to become a member of Design Council, tomorrow would be the day to start doing that.
And if there's any problems, just reach out. Like I think it'll be good. I've been spending lots of late nights playing with this technology, but I think it'll be good. And you guys get a discount. I love working with Peter and Robert and everyone at Daniel House Club. It's great. And I really appreciate it.
I did not say enough that Wendy also produced some just custom videos for Daniel House Club members, which you can also find at the link that I provided. So specifically on contracts, on intellectual property, and then just 15 pitfalls that she commonly experiences with designers and their clients. So I think those are awesome resources too. And like I said, we're going to be sending out a series of emails in the coming weeks to remind you about this and to streamline the process of finding Design Council. So yeah, awesome. And thank you everybody for staying. I know we went long,
sorry,
but the content is so important. So
I just can't do it. I can't do a half hour. I cannot do it.
No worries.
Listen, I find it hard to do what I need to do in a half hour as well. So I get it. But yeah, thank you so much. And just a lot of really good information. And I think, the fact that we had well over about 75% of the people who were on at the beginning stay on, it's something that's important and top of mind for people for sure. So thank you, Wendy. And
thank you. And I'm reading all the comments. Thank you all so much. And thanks for listening to me. And I feel like I'm repetitive with some stuff, but I can't emphasize those points enough. So hold the money. That's number one.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so much,
guys.
We look forward to seeing you again. And obviously all of our members who were here, we look forward to seeing you as well in the club. And we will see you at the end of February. Thank you so much. Have a good day.